Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your Oyster Ninja. We are here honored, oh, I like that, honored with an legend, Mr. Honor Allen, the number one oyster shucker in the country, uh, internationally ranked oyster shucker, oyster farmer extraordinaire, husband extraordinaire, boo thing extraordinaire. Mr. Honor Allen, what's going on?
Dude, fucking just happy to be here on the Oyster Ninja podcast, brother. I've been waiting for this one for a long time. I know we've been talking about it for a while.
I know, man. We've been talking about it, and we finally the stars have finally lined up, and we're
That's
making
right.
it happen finally. So Honor, man, just for the folks who don't know, you are young but already a legend in the game. You shucked on U.S. grounds, um, Asia grounds, um, uh, Ireland grounds. I don't know. You know what I mean? You shucked all over the world, like literally all over the world. And like I said, the best in the country right now. And coming from Florida, like just tell me, how you got started oyster shucking, man.
Dude, I grew up back in Panama City, Florida, and like down there in St. Andrews, the area that I was at, there's a restaurant that's about 2 blocks away from my house, and inevitably just kind of ended up working my way in the door there, and started out doing side work for culling oysters. I mean, really anything I could do just kind of make a dollar or two. I grew up in a big house, so I was always trying to get out of there and try to just go out and just get away from the madness. But started at Hunt's Oyster Bar in Panama City, Florida, and I got on the clock when I was 18 as an actual employee. I was kind of messing around up there under the table for the better part of about maybe 2.5, 3 years or so, maybe a little longer than that. And ended up, getting a full-time job there when I turned 18. And just kind of rolled with it ever since. There was a good friend of mine now at the time, he was when I'd left there under the table, he was washing dishes. When I came back, dude was shucking oysters. His name is Max Dawson. And ended up kind of getting with him about it all. And throughout the following months, when I came back, he had invited me to come with him to the Florida Seafood Festival in Apalachicola, for the Florida Seafood Festival. And then that was the first shucking competition I'd been to, and just kind of started the ball rolling there. Just worked with the oysters, and just kind of, I really liked the competition. It took me a couple years to get up there and get that time down, but I inevitably ended up, doing a lot of practice, probably more than I should have, and ended up doing fairly well for that state competition in the beginning.
So how many years so the first time Max took you to the Florida Festival, did you compete that first time? Or,
Yeah,
oh, you competed the first time?
yeah. I figured. Well, I mean, the way he talked it up, I had a little bit of experience. I wasn't a superstar or anything like that, but he said, man, no, you do really well in it. And I said, well, shit, I'll get up there with you on stage. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was probably sweating bullets and looked like I'd done been through a train wreck when it got over with. But you know how serious we take the shit when we get up there and start having the fun starts afterwards. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
I think I ended up taking fourth out of 12 competitors my first year. So I figured I'd stick with it.
Nice, nice. So just tell me a little bit, man. So like, all right, so your first competition, you got around fourth. So what kind of moves did you make to climb up the ladder, man? And like you said after that, you got the bug. So like, yeah, just what kind of mindset did you have, and what did you do to get better?
That first year, I didn't I didn't finish first, so I knew I needed to get faster, and I had a lot of penalties. So I knew I had to clean up a lot. I mean, on everything, whether it be in the oyster still being attached to the shell, or just the placement in general, or cleaning my knife off as I was shucking. I think about the biggest thing for me was looking at the brackets from years previous. So I knew if I could work my time down in practice and eventually get on that bracket, if not right at it or better, then I would have a good shot at winning it. And so that was kind of my thing. I think about the winning times for the Florida Seafood Festival at the time was around about 3 minutes or so the year previous. So I knew if I could beat 3 minutes for a final time, I knew I would essentially fare pretty well. So I'd practice, man. I'd do it twice a day, 3 times a week, and I was working 5 days a week shucking for hunts at the time. I think if I remember correctly, my overall time the first year I won the Florida Seafood Festival was 2 minutes and 58 seconds. So I was just kind of right there on like the precipice of being on that bracket, and I inevitably ended up winning it with that almost 3 minute time.
Nice, nice.
So after that, I hadn't even really thought about Maryland or the Nationals, and so immediately, man, I picked it up. I went on that St. Mary's County, the website for the U.S. Oyster Fest, and I started trying to find where their brackets were, and I inevitably ended up finding it, seeing some winning times, and and everything else. And I knew if I could get down to that 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm gonna do it, and I worked. And I ended up, one of the best times I ever had with it was at the Florida Seafood Festival, and I ended up setting their record at 1:42. So
wow, that's crazy.
So the jump from that 2:58 final time to the 1:42, that's the biggest improvement of mine is honestly that flawless set. It didn't have a single penalty. It was as quick as I could pick them up and put them down. And I don't know how, but like you said, like the stars had aligned, and it just come out perfectly flawless for the judges in their eyes.
So is Florida competition set up like Maryland?
Yeah, it's exactly like the Maryland competition. Yeah, it's a full panel of blind judges, meaning that they only know your tray number, and you bring it back yourself, set it down, and they come in and look at them and judge them, and they have their own score sheets and everything else. And afterwards, they end up announcing the top 3 final times. It's just like it, but it's not quite. I wouldn't say it's quite on that scale as the Nationals. The Florida Seafood Festival usually has anywhere from about 12 to 15 competitors.
Mm-hmm.
And then the St. Mary's, I think we're looking at like 25 to 30 or so.
Right. Okay. Whew. So how did you find out about Maryland's competition?
That was through winning the Florida Seafood Festival.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, Max had told me about shucking competitions and this, that, and the other. But honestly, I just thought it was going to be a one and done kind of thing, like win the Florida Seafood Festival and go back and just keep doing my thing at hunts. But so after winning the Florida Seafood Festival my first time, I took it even more serious. I said, shit, I really got to push now. I got to get 30 seconds faster at least to be on that same bracket. So that's what I did. And luckily, with how they lay out, as you know, it's all like you win one and then it's the following year you go to the next one. So you've got plenty of time in advance to prepare for these events. And nonetheless, I ended up working, man, even harder than I did for that Florida Seafood Festival. And I ended up going to Maryland. That was the first year I'd met you, actually. And I think it was your first year competing as well.
No, that was my second year, I believe. Hold on, damn.
That was 2000. It was 2016.
You know what? Yeah. That was my first year competing.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I was pretty sure me and you were fired the hell up about it being our first times there.
Right.
I still got that picture of me and you like chilling, holding up the trophy and shit.
Yeah.
I think I ended up. I think I won the preliminary round with 2 minutes and 11 seconds, something like that. And then William Young, Chopper, was in second, and he had 2 minutes and 21. So
Mm-hmm.
I had like 11 or 10-second lead, something like that on him. And dude, it just kind of like it blew me away. Because
Right.
at that point, dude, I done looked everybody up. I done, I done checked out everybody's shit, where they've been,
Right.
who they are. I mean, that's just kind of like I don't know, where just that kind of community, man. I really found a lot of love for it that first year, and dude, just knew it was something that I wanted to be a part of. And I mean, here we are, bro.
So how did that feel, man? Like, you've gone to nationals now, and like now you're like beating some of the legends by seconds, but in reality, seconds is like it's miles. You know,
Right.
how did that feel?
Dude, it was tremendous. I can't tell you the amount of anxiety that came that night, though. After you win the preliminaries in the lead, you only got to make the top five, but then you kind of set the bar. So like if you go to the finals and you lose that next day, it's like, well, what happened? So
Right, right,
that night I remember stressing harder than I think I might have got a couple gray hairs after that. Like I was stressed so hard. And I remember that following day being in the barn and all of us practicing and working, trying to just stay critiqued on it and, really, really grinding to try to make that score. And I mean, it's been like that ever since for us. But I mean, it felt tremendous, man. Even if I would have lost it that year, if anything else, I would have still been ecstatic to went there and held first minus Duke Landry at the time.
right. Yeah, man, when I saw Duke Shuck, man, I was like, where did this guy come from? Like,
You
is
ain't
he is
lying.
he a machine? Is he a robot? Like, is this even real?
Dude, all of them. George Hastings, Duke, William. I mean, all of the dudes, man, they're just outrageously good, and
Right.
they've it seems like they've been that good my entire life as long as I've been alive. So it was something else to go there and just not only to get to meet them, but inevitably to win the competition.
Right.
After so much damn hard work and practice into it, I didn't think I had it.
So you win nationals competition. So what was the prep like going to Ireland, and also like just the competition in Ireland? Like, how was that?
Uh, that after winning the preliminaries there in St. Mary's, William Young, Chopper ended up coming and grabbed me, and he was like, "Man, look here. It's not if, but when you win this competition, you're gonna need this knife." And he handed me a Helgas knife, and I looked at it and I said, "Man, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with this thing." I said, I'm gonna be honest with you, Chopper. I think I'm gonna stick with the knives that I got." And he said, "Man, you're just gonna lose with them." I said, "Yeah, well, it's what I'm comfortable with." So I ended up using the knife and borrowing it and practicing with it. And I really wasn't fond of it, and the biggest thing behind it is it's not meant for our oysters. And I didn't have the means to practice with, the flat oyster with it. So
Right.
that first year, I had that in the back of my mind that I was going to go shuck a different species of oyster, something I'd never touched before. And I had the means because I had the knife, but I didn't have quite the experience on it. So I ended up using the Victorinox knives as almost like letter opener knives that I always carry with me. And that first year, man, I think that's the only time I've ever been so discouraged and felt like just setting the knife down, the oyster down, just walking off the stage. About that 18th or 19th oyster, I was about to quit mid
Wow.
that oyster is that hard to shuck from the hinge. And
Wow.
I'm pretty decent on, a variety of products now, but at the time, man, when I hit that oyster that first time, I said, "Holy cow, this has got to be a joke. Like somebody's playing it, like I'm on prank or something, because these oysters are not open." And I ended up having a final time. I think it was like 4 minutes and 11 seconds for 30 oysters that first year. I took 13th that
Mm.
first year to Ireland.
Out of how many?
It was 22.
Wow. But that's still pretty good. I mean, You're the
It was,
14,
yeah.
14 out of the whole world, so
Well,
um
here's another big kicker about that competition. So the Galway International Oyster and Seafood Festival, it was initially um, came about as a celebration for the opening of the season of that native product over there in Ireland. So when they do hold this competition over there, the oysters that you're using are grown right there in Ireland by Kelly Oyster Farms. And depending on how that water is at the time, they can be really touchy. The shells can be more fragile.
mhm.
It's a very young oyster, very new oyster. And other times they could be more developed if they got something that has been raised a little bit longer. So there's a lot of variables in it, but I think the biggest thing going there and shucking with my own knives and looking at all these other competitors, everybody is holding Helgas blades. That was at the point I knew then that I severely messed up.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. To keep it PG. Yeah, I got
yeah.
you. Oh man, that's crazy, man. So just tell me, I guess first, what's the difference in I mean I know, but for the listeners who don't know, what's the difference in the Maryland competition and the international competition?
Uh, the I mean a lot of it's everybody that's there has gone through like some kind of circuit competition. So there's a lot more at stake knowing that like you're at the final stage of it. This is the biggest competition there is, and it's the highest ranked one there is. It's this is the final level of the stuff. And I think I think some of like the biggest differences between it, one, it's a different species of oyster that, not a whole lot of people here in the US are very critiqued on. I mean, we do have that species over here of oyster, but it's still not quite the same. It's kind of like the Chesapeake versus Gulf Coast. I mean, we got the same species of oyster, but they're completely different shapes, shell structures, and everything. The flat oyster that's indigenous to Europe over there it's very broad and circular shape. It's almost like a clam or a scallop, and it's very, very thin oyster. So when you're wedging the knife between the shells at the hinge, when you go to pry them separate away from each other, you're more likely to crack the shell. It's more fragile against that kind of tension behind it.
Mhm.
So for them over there, they use a blade that's more like a wedge, and you wedge this blade through the hinge versus trying to separate the shells like we do over here. Um, that's probably about the biggest one. Another difference between the nationals and the internationals is you have to present 30 oysters in the internationals, and you get two extra. So that's a little bit more play, and there's a lot of variables in it. The nationals, you only get 24, and you have to present that 24, unless you're going to get penalized for a missing oyster. Which if you do that, you're going to lose
Yeah,
as it is.
yeah, that's it. Night night.
That's right. For the most part, that's about the biggest differences between the two of them.
So so how do you feel? Because of course COVID has hit us, so we're not going to be able to go to the national competition, and pretty much your trip has been canceled for the international, right?
Yep. For this year, as far as I know, they're planning on rolling over my win to next year, and hopefully, as it stands right now, I'll go to represent the U.S. in next year, September 2021.
Right. So I mean, for me, I just for me, that's just a huge thing. First of all, just because like to say you're going somewhere representing the U.S., you know, it's almost like the Olympics. Saying you're going somewhere to represent and hopefully bring back the gold. Um, just going into pre-COVID, how did you feel? Like, as far as your mindset, like, how did you think you was gonna do this year in the internationals at Galway?
Well, generally I start months and months in advance practicing for these events. And that was just the hardest part about it is early this year. I mean, beginning of this year, I just knew that, I wasn't going to be able to go. So I wasn't going to get that kind of practice in with it. So I've really done a lot of concentrating on working and managing this oyster farm that I'm at now, Fiddler's Point Oyster Company. And I've pretty much, just hit the ground running from January 1st until now, just working hard on the farm. If per se like the coronavirus wouldn't have happened, I'd have still been working on the farm. I'd have been doing a lot of prep work, getting ready for the competition, getting ready for those flat oysters, and shucking with that Helgas knife of mine. I ended up buying a Helgas knife off of Johan Malm, the Swedish representative. He's a super nice guy, and I worked a lot with the knife. I ended up using it the second year that I went to Ireland. But I would have liked to stay in the top 5 if I'd went back this year.
All right, man. So this year, of course, if the good listeners haven't heard, the U.S. Nationals is going to be virtual.
Yep.
First of all, let's just talk about how you feel about that. And is it the same type of prep and mindset for you going into that?
Knowing that I really don't have anything to lose with it, per se, like if I don't win it, like there's nothing at stake with it, and it's more or less for the fun and publicity for it. I'm ready to have an event that's something I ain't got to sweat so bad about. I guess you could say. I take all of these festivals and events very seriously, and a lot of it's very controlling over what I'm doing in everyday life, whether it's planning on for these events or practicing for the shucking competitions, or trying to work for the PR aspect of it, or trying to get word out there of some things. I know between the podcast that we're doing right now, and talking about the stuff, it's all very good for these platforms, and man, they really needed to stay alive. And I look forward to having fun, getting on the camera and just plowing out a couple oysters and keeping that St. Mary's going for this year. I'm glad that they're not canceling it and that they're trying to do something different and out of the box. I think it's really cool.
So for the good listeners, if they haven't heard, but of course I'll attach a media sheet to this. So it's going down on October 17th, and I got the schedule here on my phone, my cellular device. So it's look like it's going to be pretty cool. They're going to have, of course, they're going to have a queen oyster this year. They're also going to have a video by George Hastings. And it looks like all the Baltimore shuckers are going to get together and have a good old time at Riley's Oyster Bar up in Baltimore. So that's going to be cool.
That's where we need to be.
How about it, man? Actually, maybe that's a thing. Maybe we could do like a watch party or something. You know what I mean? Like, hey, people get together and go to Oyster Fest. Why can't they get together and watch it or something? I don't know.
Right.
Could be like Super Bowl Sunday or something.
Get up with some of these sports bars and feed it live to the big TVs.
Oh man, it's better than ESPN.
That's right. Hey man, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So that's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good event. I can't wait. So how many people are you in? Was your brother gonna get into was he gonna get in the professional competition this year?
No, he was. So he's been an avid follower, of mine. I love him to death, Sebastian.
Yeah. So like he shot last year, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
He shucked in the amateur event, and he's been to a lot of my competitions and stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I cannot tell you, man, the support that I've gotten from my family, and in particular Sebastian. I mean, hell, he's drove to New Orleans, a 5-hour drive, just to watch me shuck for 2 minutes, turned around, got right back in the car, and drove back home. He's just been there like every step of the way with me. And that last year, so they were having the amateur event, and I convinced him to just get up there and give it a shot. and nothing doing. He wanted some pointers on, what to do, and so I gave him a couple pointers, nothing like super crazy. And I watched him shuck once without any pointers, and then I laid it on him something thick and watched him go again, and he cut back his time pretty good. So I knew he had a pretty good shot at it. But
Right, right, right.
he ended up winning it, that baby. by a good bit. I think it was like 20 seconds, 25 seconds or something like that. But
Yeah, he was moving like a professional.
yeah, and he's a quick learner. He shucked oysters. I think, God, it was probably 3 years or so before that. He had shucked at a restaurant in Panama City Beach. But yeah, he hadn't shucked an oyster. And like I said, about 3 years when that event was going on. I was really impressed that he ended up getting up there and doing so well.
That's great, man. When we gonna get the wife to get on the competition?
Oh, I don't know. I can't. I mean, she can get in on it. I ain't giving her all my secrets, though.
No
We
doubt, no
we
doubt.
can't be having that. No,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, man. How long, I would like to see more women competitors. I'd love to see Brianna get up there and bust out a couple of them. I think
right.
they what are they they're generally running about six female competitors in the competition.
Yeah, yeah,
And a lot of them, like Deborah Pratt and her sister, Annie, and I mean all of them have been there for years in the competition. So I mean I'd honestly like to see more female contestants. I mean,
yeah.
it
And
seems like
last
it
year,
seems like there's a little bit of a generation coming on, with us, and I'm sure there'll be other younger shuckers come along as well.
right.
I'd like to see it up there about 50 competitors. That would be something crazy, man.
It would, man. I
Men
think
and women.
every year, man, it really does get bigger and bigger. And of course, I do my best to spread the word, and it's surprising like how many people have never heard about it. So that's why I always preach, nationally ranked oyster shucker. Oh, what's that? And then I tell them about the contest, or just if people are asking, or if they like oysters, I'm telling them, it's this big oyster festival going down in Maryland in October. The
Right.
last weekend in October every year. So yeah, so hopefully this
No, man,
year.
you've done such a wonderful job throughout the years, man, publicizing these things.
Whew, yeah, no doubt, man. No
I know,
doubt.
I know you got,
It's
I know
fun.
you got your plate full, man.
It's fun though. You got to keep it. As long as it's still fun, it's not like work. So, I
Right.
just try and make it fun and you know do my thing. And you've been a great ambassador, man. I appreciate all the great ambassador. Like, not that we have any um, bad images out here of oyster shuckers, but like, I feel like our circle and just the shuckers that we shuck with are just good people. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
all practice what we preach, and we just want to have fun and shuck some oysters.
That's it, man. Get up there with our family and all kick it together.
Exactly, exactly. And that's another thing. Like, and you hear all the shuckers say it, when the competitions come together, it's not really like a competition, although we all want to win or place. But it's more like a family reunion.
Right. Yeah, I look forward to it every year, man.
Exactly. So hopefully I'll see you virtually, man, on October 17th, and we can shuck some oysters, have a good time, and talk a little smack.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, man.
And until then, man, I know you mentioned you're working on the oyster farm. Do you want to say anything like what's going on with the oyster farm?
Man, it's been quite a learning experience. With it all, I did a lot of reading and stuff throughout the last couple of years. After getting a few titles and stuff, I wanted to kind of get a little bit of knowledge behind me. It's something that I've really looked forward to. After seeing behind the bars aspect and shucking for the customers, I really felt like I cherished and valued my time behind the bar at Hunts, and I was ready for the change. I think I was really really, really eager to get out of there and just try to stay on that oyster path, man. So I was really glad to make that change. And my wife and I both, we've settled in quite nicely. We're in Panacea, Florida. It's about 2 hours east of Panama City. And It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but as something that you are as well as I am, we are, passionate about it, and I don't regret it one bit. We're sitting on closer to about 5.5 acres that we're currently working of water, and we have another couple of leases. We haven't really started putting any product on those yet, and we've probably got somewhere closer to about 400,000 pieces in the water right now, with another 100,000 coming in 2 weeks. So it's man, we're shaking and moving. It's sun up to sundown if we're not on the water because of the weather isn't permitting. We're building gear or maintaining the boats or just whatever we can do to keep the ball rolling on this thing. And I might get a little bit slower for the competitions now that I ain't shucking full time. But man, I'm still very excited about getting together and kicking it, hanging out.
I think you'll be all right, Honor, man. Because I only say that because that was like one of my biggest fears when I left the Raw bar and I started, cutting back and just doing private events. I was like, man, I'm not gonna be as fast as I used to be. And well, you know what? I haven't played since, but I feel like I still got it. And off the like when it's not for record, I can still move. So it's just
Right?
a mindset, man. And you know that your mind has to be there when you go into these kind of competitions. But you'll be okay, man. I believe in you. And I remember the first time I think it was your competition in New Orleans that I watched. And I was like, yo, he's a beast. and, and, and it's funny because like when I saw you and met you in Maryland, I was like, yeah, that Honor Allen, y'all got to watch out for that guy.
Oh shit.
He's the truth. He's the truth.
Dude,
Um,
I could attribute a lot of that, man, just from, just helpful tips and, people that I've been around, you and everybody, man. Just give me that inspiration, that want to, that drive for it, and then throughout the years, I've had so much help and love from other competitors and, just really, really good people that I've met in this oyster community that has really kind of broadened my horizons with it, and made me want to work harder for it. So that's kind of one of those things. If I'd have never had the drive for it, then it never would have happened. But man, I'm so glad for whatever reason it just kind of stuck with me, and that's been going on about 5 years ago now, maybe 5.5 years ago, something like that.
nice, nice. So, what's the flavor profile on your oysters?
Oh man, they're great. We've got the two leases that we're working right now. One's a little bit more of a protected environment, and the salinity's down a little bit more. So they're kind of with the lower salinity. There's less predators there, and there's less fouling organisms. So it kicks off the oysters in a really, really pretty state. They won't have as much growths on them. And the first lease that we're working, it's our bigger one. It's kind of just off of a channel, so it catches a lot of fouling organisms, and we're trying to work it to where we have them at least two in that protected environment at their infant stage, all the way to about that 2 inch mark, maybe 2.5 inches, and then work them over there to the first lease where it's a little bit saltier water, so they kind of finish off with a nice briny taste to them. Both of them, man, are excellent oysters. The waters that we're growing them over here in Panama, it's all protected. Well, forestry behind us. They've got one of the biggest springs in the world that's feeding it fresh water. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous, untouched marshlands. And I couldn't explain even just it's just almost overwhelming the first time I seen it, how gorgeous this place is on just untouched Florida, tucked away where the Big Bend is in Florida, where it starts to go up north like Tallahassee area. We're straight south from Tallahassee, and it's a perfect environment. We're sitting about at least one sitting average about 24, 25 parts per thousand salinity, and at least two around about the 18, 20 mark or so. So I think we've got a good recipe for future product. We're still kind of working out the kinks, trying to get all these boats ready, trying to get employees that are, stable and, wanting that sun up to sundown, or even, sun up to about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, maybe
Right,
5 days
right.
a week. But I mean, we're making some waves with it, man. they're beautiful. They got a nice texture to them. They're not real thin oyster. They're not real steaky textured either. You know, they're not
Mm-hmm.
real thick. But they're a beautiful cocktail piece. I mean, I'd really like to get you some up there. I'm hoping here when these festivals and stuff start going again, I'm gonna bring some up there and kind of let everybody sample them, man. I'm very excited about it.
Sounds good. We can make it happen, man.
That's right.
Just for the listeners, man, where can they get in contact with you? Whether if it's oysters or if it's a shucking engagement, whatever. How can the listeners get in contact with you? Follow your
Um, I
story.
have I have a page for all of my competitive content. It's my first and last name, Honor, Honor. Allen is my last name, Allen, National Oyster Shucking Champion. It's just got a bunch of content, some pictures and stuff on it from the festivals and everything that I've been at and went to, and I'm trying my best to keep up with it now and have plans to keep up with it for the future. So yeah, I mean, if they want to drop a like on the page, maybe send me a message on there, that'd be great, man. Maybe even share it with their friends. The podcast, the Oyster Ninja, all of it. That St. Mary's County U.S. Oyster Festival. I mean,
No
we've got it
doubt.
all, baby.
No
We
doubt.
got it
No
all.
doubt. My man, Honor Allen. I appreciate you for joining me this fine evening. We finally got it, and we're done, man. That's it. Wasn't that bad? Wasn't that hard? Thank you, sir.
Dude, Gardner, it's been my pleasure, dude. I told you on the phone earlier, dude. I've been wanting to do this with you for so long now. I mean, when you first got the thing kicked off, and I knew it, it just lined up, man. God is so great. I'm so lucky to
Amen.
have a friend like you, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate that.
Good shit, brother. Like I said, I'm glad both of us are doing well, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Hopefully here in the next couple of weeks when we get on the camera and start banging out some oysters for the St. Mary's Festival.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, man. Good people. October 17th. The link will be in the description.